Okay, it says that we are live. So I'm going to do my normal check over on YouTube. Yep. Awesome. Okay. So we are live. Welcome everyone to my channel today. I have a very exciting sort of video today to, I guess, celebrate the launch of the Charmed Life Master Planner, which you guys know I've been talking about on social media. This was completely an accident. I had this interview scheduled for a couple of weeks now, and the launch sort of lined up with this accidentally. So we're gonna be talking about, how to put together a successful business online with someone who has been a real inspiration for me since I've learned about her through a mutual friend of ours who used to work with Laura named Anne. You guys remember Anne? She's been here on the channel. But so today we're going to be having this interview with Laura. And so let me say, Laura, you can say hello.
Hello, here I am. Happy to be here.
There she is. And you'll see Laura too. I forgot to mention this while we were chatting. It will pick up and switch between us. You may be familiar with the Hangout. So Laura is a pro of the online sphere. So let me quickly read her introduction to you guys because she's someone that I really think you guys need to know about. To me, she is like one of the biggest women in technology right now. And I know that like kind of is a big thing to say. And you're like, I've never heard of this lady that you are going to introduce us to today. But seriously, you guys, she is someone who's been online doing the online thing for a long time. She's like one of the OG like content creators, sort of like blogger, sort of modern blogger, right? Like beyond the scope of, beyond the scope of like what was traditionally taught back in like the early 2000s about blogging and writing online. Laura was really like a pioneer of using your content for your marketing and using your messaging and using your personality, your personal brand, what it is that you do best, your zone of genius, all that sort of stuff to build a brand for yourself online. So it's actually like a lot of not a lot of similar. I would take your business. Sure. We can do a business swap. Obviously I'm not at the level that she is at all, but a lot of similarities in our story with kind of our progress. She just got all the pieces together really early. And I'm so sad that I did not learn about Laura until I met Anne. So I want you guys to know her and understand how important she is to this community and of online business women and women in technology. And even if you're not someone who runs a business or is a woman in technology, what I love about Laura's story is the ingenuity and the self-mastery that goes into manifesting a business for yourself. So I have a printout here with Laura.
Very official.
Very official. That says, Laura Roeder is the founder of Edgar, a social media automation tool designed to prevent status updates from going to waste. Laura has given talks at conferences like BlogHer and South by Southwest and has spoken about the value of independent entrepreneurship at the White House. She's also appeared in Forbes, Fast Company, Mashable, CNET, and other major publications. So is there anything you want to add to that intro? It's like that is such like a short, savvy intro for like how big I feel like you are.
Yeah, I mean, I've been, working in social media marketing, I guess, for as long as it's existed. I've kind of explored every business model, from consulting to training, and now Meet Edgar, which is social media software that just handles it for you.
Yeah, so let's talk about Meet Edgar first. I know that wasn't on our interview questions, but I feel like that's a natural place to start because this is the major part of your business right now. And Meet Edgar is the website. I call it Meet Edgar. The platform itself, the program itself, application is called Edgar. And it is a social media automation tool that literally you load content into Edgar, status updates, pictures, Facebook posts, and it automatically drops it on your feeds. So a lot of people ask me like, because I don't really do Twitter, but I have a nice full Twitter feed. That is an example of something that I use. Edgar is the platform that I use, the tool that I use to fill up my feeds especially in places where I don't like to actively be hanging out. Like Twitter's not my favorite place. Facebook is also not always my favorite platform. You guys know I love the YouTubes. And I love the Instagram. So that's kind of where I like to spend my time. But I still want you guys to get content if you're following me over there. So Edgar does that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, you know, the big differentiator between us and other tools is that the set it and forget it factor. And that's what our customers tell us, is that the time savings is just enormous. Because with other tools, you put in the status update and it gets sent out once. With Edgar, we can recycle that update for you over and over again, or help you create like variations of that update to fill up your account. So yeah, for me, that's LinkedIn. Like, I am never on LinkedIn, but Edgar's on LinkedIn.
Oh my God. I'm not on LinkedIn either. It's so funny. Let me tell you, the number one complaint I get from people on social media is why I'm not on LinkedIn. And I'm like, LinkedIn of all places.
Well, set it up and have Edgar post.
I do. I probably should. I actually probably should, because Edgar really has helped me be everywhere, even though I'm not. And you know, I love about Edgar is I love the octopus.
He's
little symbol,
very adorable.
Octopus, which you guys, maybe you guys don't know, but some of you know that I'm like a sailor. I grew up like sailing, and I love nautical things, and I love octopuses. So I was like, I have to sign up because it's like a little squingeely. I love him. So yeah, Edgar is an amazing platform. It is, like Laura said, and you guys know that like I don't BS you with this stuff. I've tried out a lot of social media automation tools, and I've recommended some to you guys as well, like in the past. But once I started using Edgar, that was the one feature that's killer, that just really just like blows it out of the water. Any other automation scheduling tool, because there's so many where you can schedule things, and even platforms themselves like Facebook, you can go in and you can schedule posts. You absolutely can. But Edgar makes it so that I love that it pulls in the content from my blog. It pulls my content for me, even though I haven't been the best blogger lately. You know, I do have so much content that was up on my blog, and Edgar sucks it in and then lets me apply tags to it to categorize it and say like where I believe the content belongs in my schedule, in my library of content. And then what it does is it not just drops it once, I put it on a schedule, and it's dropping stuff for me continuously. So if you guys have ever seen the exact same post pop up, like honestly, I have so much content that so you don't really notice. It's not like you're going to get the same thing every day with me. It probably is something like it takes you a few months and you might see the same things dropping again. But that's Edgar. It like literally, I set this thing up and it was set it and forget it. And it's so, I actually am so bad. I really should go in there and curate a little bit more and add things a little bit more. But it really is. It just does so much for me, especially promotional posts. It's a source of continual income for me when you guys are getting these posts that are reminding you of the products that I don't talk about very often. Because like right now, where's all my focus this month? On this thing. So you guys aren't going to hear about anything else from me like out of my mouth live than this for right now. But I don't want you guys to forget about the other valuable classes and resources and courses that I have for you guys, right? And Laura's Edgar.
And this is just, I mean, this is just a good point, you know, whether or not obviously you can do this manually if you're a person with a lot of time to kill. I don't know. You can do it.
I'm sorry, that takes the passive out of my passive income business.
Yeah. But yeah, what you're saying is so important, because most people, you know, maybe you're doing a launch, so you sort of forget about everything else. And so many people just never think to put those direct promotional links on social media, stuff like, you know, opt-in for my opt-ins, or even like, just here's the link to my course. Like, have you seen this one? Have you read the page about it? So many people are just putting blog posts on social, and it's such a wasted opportunity.
And, you know, for me, I definitely am someone who's very good about making sure that a portion of my blog posts are content marketing, so they are promotional as well. But then there are things like opt-ins, getting onto lists, and literally just direct calls to action to purchase something. And a lot of people think, well, aren't you bombarding people with all these status updates? No, because I know that even the most dedicated fan of mine out there has not read all of my content, and you absolutely don't even know all the things that I sell. Like, you could peruse, I feel like you could peruse my shop and you find new things, right? You don't think there's like a lot of, I feel like I have like lots of things that I offer. So, you know, if you're someone like that who's got a lot going on, you don't just have one thing that you focus on. It's one of those things where if you don't talk about it over and over and over and over and over again, people aren't going to remember. Like,
well, I mean, we tend to forget for our own business. We tend to get nervous, like, oh, I don't want to bother people. And I mean, the weirdest part about it is you have to remember that social media is all often, right? Like if someone has subscribed to you on YouTube or is following you on Instagram, they chose to follow you on Instagram. Clearly they're interested. Like, why else would they follow you? So we can see it as a consumer. Like if I'm following a jewelry brand on Instagram, the only thing I want is a bunch of pictures of what they have for sale. Like, like why else would I follow them? Like I want to follow them. I want to see pictures of what they are selling me, right? Or if I'm following them on Twitter, like I want links of what they're selling me. Of course, of course. But then when we look at our own businesses, we're like, oh, don't want to be too pushy. Like, don't want to be too promotional. Like, why else would they follow your business if they don't want to hear about what you're selling?
Exactly, you guys. And I can't tell you how many times I've been following someone and I would say that I'm like an avid follower of theirs. And then all of a sudden I find out that they had this product this whole time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did I not know about that? Like I pay attention. But the truth is that no one's paying as much attention to your business as you are, which is why, like, I personally believe that people need to hear about something 3 times before they even decide to purchase it or not, if they're even going to go in and look at it. Like, I know that some of you guys, like when I launched this, I just sent that email last night and then I started talking about it on Instagram and so many of you guys have purchased, which is so awesome. But most people are going to need to hear about this 3, 5, 10 times before they realize, and in different context, in different sorts of things, in blog posts, in videos, like on my social media before they decide to make a purchase. So remember, at the end of the day, you're running a business. If you're like me and you like follow the methodology that I have put together and the methodology that really, Laura's been doing this even longer. She clicked with that methodology of adding value to people's lives. It doesn't have to just be about like, buy this, buy this, buy this. It could be, here's my beautiful blog post that gives you so much value. And then here's a call to action at the end that says, here, if you really want to go deep on this, here is a workbook that you can buy, or here is an ebook or a course, right? Because you're already adding value to people's lives. They can always say, no, that's the wonderful thing about the internet. No one's forced to buy anything.
Right.
It's not annoying.
You want to put the onus on you, not the other person. I was thinking about this today because I was messaging with someone who's like an acquaintance, and he sent me a message and he's like, hey, I'm in LA this week. Like, do you have time to meet up? And I was like, I haven't lived in LA for so long. And like, I have talked to you several times. Like, I was feeling a little annoyed at him. And then I'm like, why would I be? It's not his job to keep track of where I am in the world. And he was trying, like, he was offering me a good opportunity. Like, he was trying to reach out and offer value. For me to be annoyed that he hasn't kept up with like every detail of my life is so silly. I should just be like, oh yeah, I don't live in LA anymore. But we expect that from our customers. Like, yeah, that they're going to scour every blog post and every message and know all the details of what we sell. Like, of course they're not.
I mean, you guys, this is one of the reasons exactly why I say, like, if you make a mistake, don't worry about it, just correct it. Because people are not paying that much attention that they're going to like even notice that you did something wrong. Like you guys in the email yesterday, I accidentally dropped 2 of the exact same picture instead of the weekly. Like there's 2 of the monthly spreads in the email instead of 1 monthly and then 1 weekly. And I had like 2 people messaged me and were like, wait, did you do, was there like an error? I didn't see the weekly. Could you send it to me? And I sent it right back over. But like, you guys, you're not being judged on your errors. No one's even noticing them. Like people aren't paying attention enough to like notice everything. You need to be actively promoting yourself, which actually goes really well into segueing, okay, into this idea of what we're talking about today of executing less to manifest more, here with the queen of passive income and automation herself, Miss Laura Roeder. I just realized, you guys, that there's a bunch of you sitting on here chatting away in the chat, and I have not said yet hello yet. So I really want to take a moment before we jump into the interview questions to say hello. If you're in the chat live, guess what, you guys? YouTube fixed that feature about the chat going away. So when you guys watch this on repeat, you can see the chat, which is awesome. So I want everybody who's here in the chat to say hello, where you're at in the world, and use a social media handle for us to follow you, like an Instagram or something. Where can we find you online? You're not going to be able to use like actual links to like websites, but if you give us like an @MissTrenchcoat, I'm @MissTrenchcoat on social media. Make sure you're following me. Make sure you're liking this video and sharing it. And what's the best way to follow you? Through Edgar, right?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at LKR, or we're Meet Edgar all over social media.
Yep, Meet Edgar and LKR. I love it when you're so like up there that you're just like an abbreviation. You're LKR. It's wonderful. So Okay, so I was going to give some people some shout outs, but I'll give you guys a moment to pull this in. And me and Laura will just start in with the interview questions then. So the first thing that I wanted to ask you, Laura, right, that goes into my community, whether or not you're a business person or if people who are interested in starting a business, right, is I really like to know, would love to know the motivation for why you started your business, right? So like, what was the big why? What were you trying to accomplish by entering this lifestyle of being an entrepreneur? Because honestly, that's what this is. This is like a lifestyle. Starting a business, being an entrepreneur online, it is a lifestyle. So I'd love to hear what motivated you to get started in this industry.
So you mean like with my first business, right?
When you first started and you're like, this is the internet. It is the wild, wild west. It is the final frontier. Like, what actually motivated you to get started? Because I'll just say for me, I love the internet. I've been playing on the internet for a long time. Like my mother's a stepfather of mine who passed away, unfortunately, he was like an entrepreneur on the internet doing more programming stuff. And so that was like my first taste of like what this sort of lifestyle could be like, working online, working at home for me. And that was obviously before I even understood the passive element. But I would love to know like what it was, what drew you, why you were motivated to start a business online. Like so many people think about it and think it's cool and never do it. I want to know that piece. And I think people need to know what that piece is of why you were motivated to do this.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of factors. I mean, one, just it sounds like similar to you. I'm, we're similar ages. I'm about to be 34. So we're that first generation that had the internet when we were young. So for me, that was, AOL in 5th grade. And then I was building websites when I was in junior high and high school. So, I think anyone our age and younger has been very lucky to not have to, discover this. Obviously, some people do discover, have a day when they sort of discover it all for the first time.
Oh my God, can we just lament together of like the woes of trying to build a website on like GeoCities or something, and the slowness of dial-up at the time, you guys, like trying to download music. Like I remember Napster and like literally waiting all day to get like a song, which it's illegal downloading, you guys, not for this. I pay for all my music. But when I was like, I had a laptop when I was 11 or 12. My father gave me a laptop and it was the craziest thing because no one had laptops. So this is like how OG we're going with this technology.
Yeah.
That love to technology into being like, I'm going to make, because for years I made like, BS websites and played on social media. How do you make that jump to, I'm going to make money. I'm going to do something for income with this?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think a huge thing I had going for me. So I started when I was really young. I was 22 when I first started working for myself full time, and I haven't turned back. And the nice thing about that is I really had nothing to lose. I didn't have kids. I didn't have anyone to support but myself. And I was making like $30,000 a year. So it didn't seem, and that was my goal, when I first started working for myself. I'd like to be able to make $30,000 a year working for myself. I was also very lucky that I was a designer, a graphic and web designer, which is just a career that a lot of people do freelance, right? There's just like a huge existing thing of, you can be a freelance designer. So I think that was lucky too, that I was in a field where people, obviously already on the internet and people didn't think it was crazy. So for me, I definitely wanted to work for myself because of that freedom, which I think is what, motivates almost all entrepreneurs. They want that time freedom, that freedom to create more in their careers. And I also felt like very impatient. Like I looked at my career path. So when I quit my first and only job, I was a junior designer, and I'm like, well, being a junior designer kind of sucks. I want to be a creative director. And I'm like, well, I'm going to have to work in this dumb industry for like 10 years before I can be a creative director.
That's so funny because for any of you who like know my story, right? You guys know that when I graduated college I graduated early in 2007. I was supposed to graduate in 2008. And I decided that I wanted to like run a publishing company. Like I wanted to run my own magazine. And because I lived in the middle of nowhere, okay, I lived in I went to school in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and I was living at the time in Hagerstown, Maryland. Okay, you guys, in the middle of nowhere, definitely not near DC, definitely not near like publishing places, right? I was like, only option, start your own publishing company. So I was like, what's like a magazine? A blog. I can do that online. Now, of course, I had no clue about how to monetize, and like basically nobody did in 2008, but that's so funny. Like, just make your own job title. Like, I can be the CEO of my company. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's something that people say about Gen Y or millennials, like, oh, they don't, you know, they're so entitled and they don't think they have to pay their dues. And obviously there's, you know, there's being entitled, which is a negative thing. But the positive way to look at it is like, yeah, what if you don't assume that you have to wait 15 years before you do what you want to do? If you can show that you have the value, that's all I care about, right? I don't care if you've been doing this 30 years or 1 year. I care about the outcome and the results and the value that you're adding. And I think that's a great perspective to have.
So what was that first job, that first business that you had started?
Just freelance design. So
freelance design.
Website, mostly making websites for like businesses in Chicago where I lived at the time. Also, you know, because then I don't think businesses still do that, but then you made like letterhead, you made the whole like suite where you make their logo and the letterhead and the business cards. And so I did all that stuff too.
Yeah, well, I think we still do that nowadays, but it's a little bit different. Like, we still have the business cards. I feel like people have like the templates online and they're making it like on a website now. It's not so much that we're sending out letterhead, but I definitely had made some of that for my many businesses. So what were those first actions that you took towards your business idea when you were getting started? Like, in your head, did you, like, obviously back then, no one had these sorts of like, there were no like online business classes and things like that.
Yeah, there were. It wasn't. It wasn't very mainstream and it wasn't very big, you know. But it did exist, and I did discover that world. I mean, it took me a little while before my business was sort of part of that world, because with the freelance business, I just met people IRL and then, you know, would do the business that way. So I just jumped in. I didn't freelance on the side before I started, which is really weird, especially for a designer. Most people will like freelance on the side for a while and sort of build up their client base. I just quit my job and I didn't have any clients. I didn't know anyone. Like, I was new to Chicago and I was so young. I didn't know anyone who owned a business, you know? So I'm like, oh no, I'm going to need to meet people who own businesses because that's who my clients are going to be. So I just started going to Chamber of Commerce events in Chicago, and like social media was becoming a thing, you know? So it was 2007 when I started that business. So 2008, you know, people were getting on Twitter and like Facebook, like fan pages became a thing, but it was still, you know, obviously most businesses weren't using that. So I was exploring those things. And then that's why I started also teaching businesses about those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So first actions, you were going out there, you put together, I mean, the good thing is about you, what your situation was that it was a service, right? So it was something that people needed. It was just about you making contacts. So it was not necessarily so much about you researching or getting information. So yeah,
I mean, I got information through other people, you know. Yeah. One of the things about going to the networking events was I wasn't just looking for clients. I also found people that helped me figure out what the hell was going on, because I literally didn't know. I'm sure people listening like,
they didn't know either. Let's be honest. Back in 2007, people were making it up. Like, this is the thing. Like, there was some tested stuff, but it's not.
Well, I'm not even talking about internet stuff. I'm just saying, like, oh, I'm supposed to, the client expects a proposal. Like, what is a proposal?
Okay, so you're talking about researching, like, how you would actually run this business, like, logistically, like, what's the process?
Yeah, and I remember I would go to, like, you know, there's always a lot of women in business stuff. So I'm like, okay, cool. That's, like, free classes I can go to. I remember I sat down with this woman and she told me it was really important to know the tax category for my business. I still have like no idea why. And she got out this huge, like, musty book and was going through it. I was like, well, it's like websites. Is that in there? And she's like, no. And she's like, but you need to know the tax category.
Let me tell you, there are still people out there who would tell you that knowing stuff about your tax before you start your business is important.
Right.
I'm sorry, there are some other things before you even get to the luxury of being able to pay taxes on your business because you earned an income. So, I mean, that's even nowadays, I think people are still like, do I need a business plan first? No, you need to know how you're going to operate your business and what your services are going to be and who your customers are and what the process is.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I love that. I think that's a great one. I think a lot of times when people would answer something like this, I think getting this process down is important, and being also open and flexible to changing like what your expectations are for the process. Because again, when you are the boss, you can change things. A lot of times things in this world, this is one of the things you're talking about earlier with like people needing to wait 10, 15 years to get this sort of like higher level sort of, job title. The great thing about the internet and online entrepreneurship and this like entitlement that us millennials feel is that we are rewriting rules that have been long-standing and are superfluous. So many times I find rules that I'm rewriting. I don't actually need to do this. People said you needed to do it. You didn't actually need to do it. It really helps that I happen to be very rebellious about things. But it's literally you making your own rules and your own opportunities, which I think goes really great into the next question of were there any specific opportunities that you manifested passively for yourself along the way? So for example, like one of the things that I talk about now, I'm going to be talking about this more, you guys, now with all the alchemy stuff that I've been bringing into my brand. But the idea that you could just say something to someone like a friend, like I want to be featured on this blog. And then all of a sudden, maybe a couple days later, a couple weeks later, you get an offer and you didn't reach out to them, they reached out to you. So is there anything you can think of that was like that, those sorts of stories? I know I've told my audience the story of when I decided that 2018 was going to be my year to speak. I said it out loud to another planner girl and friend of mine in the community, Haley Cairo, and because she was at my house and we were filming videos. And later that night, I got an offer to speak with like a major company. They were asking if I was available, if I wanted to do that. So it was literally as soon as I said it, I got the email. So did you have any instances of that? Like once you committed to the path and you said what you wanted, things were coming to you?
I mean, it's an interesting question because I feel like in some ways it's almost hard to think of an example because I feel everything is partially that way. I think everything that happens is definitely a combination of, it has to be, right, of direct actions, but then there's only so many direct actions you can do, right? Mm-hmm. Other people always have to be involved in all the opportunities that come to you. I mean, something we haven't mentioned, I'm sure there's a lot of viewers that are familiar with Marie Forleo's B School, and she and I actually created that program together. A lot of people don't know that. Yes. We co-founded it together. I used to teach it with her. And so the way that I met Marie was she was my coach. I hired her as my coach, and then we ended up sort of becoming friends through that process. And like I had this fantasy of creating B School with her that I totally kept to myself because the way we had come into the relationship was like she was above me in some way, and she was, of course, a lot more experienced than me. She was teaching me about this online business stuff, but we would also just chat about it all the time. And I can like remember the phone call where she's like, okay, I've been thinking about this. I have this idea. Like, wouldn't it be really cool if we did, like the way we started talking about B School, we're like all this online marketing stuff that we're learning from like all these D-bags, because we would go to all the conferences and we're like, we love internet marketing, but we hate this culture around it. We're like, what if we put like our culture on this type of information? And she just described like the whole thing that I had been dreaming about that I had never dared share with anyone. So of course I was like, yes.
And that's like such a synchronicity, right? Like that's what we would call a synchronicity, right? When like in the alchemy sorts of like things, since I need to start talking about this more, I guess, it's like entangled particles, you guys. Her and Marie were like entangled particles. They were an entangled pair. They were working together. They were closely together talking about this subject. And then one of them had the idea and the other one got the idea, independent of talking about the idea. And then it was brought together. So that is a beautiful example of manifestation as well, because I think synchronicity is a wonderful thing. Like whenever we see this, I think we see this so much. And I unfortunately think that people don't take the synchronicities as much of a opportunity as I really think they should. For me, whenever I see a synchronicity, let's say I put out my planner and then some other people are putting out planners at the same time, right? Or, I start talking about a topic on YouTube and then I see more people talking about it on YouTube. unfortunately, the default like of this world is that people are like, oh, this person saw me, follows me, copied me, right? Which I hate, right? Because I don't think any of my ideas are actually unique. I'm like, I know that like it just popped into my head this way. The way I'm putting the spin on it is unique. But I think when I see the synchronicities, when I see other people talking about something, I see that it is an opportunity. And we'd say this in business, right? Look, there's clearly a market for it, right? A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are thinking about it. And I believe in this idea of like the consciousness of like the whole like world has a consciousness, right? So the people in my community, the people who like the things that I like, if they're starting to talk about something that I'm talking about as well, and it's like just out of nowhere, it's a synchronicity to me. And I think it's like a form of manifesting the people that you should be interacting with and like almost like guideposts from the universe to say, you know what, this is something that is a sign that you need to move forward with what this idea that you're working on is, or maybe here's someone who could be a potential partner, the way that you found a potential partner in Marie, and we're able to create something that literally redefined the way people think about business online. And now, of course, that was one of the first courses, right? And and I know you have courses too. So were you Creating Fame? What was the timeline? Were you doing Creating Fame and then we did B School, or was it B School and then Creating Fame? Or
yeah, so I had my own business of training courses that was primarily about social media, like specific, Twitter specific, Facebook specific, and then Creating Fame was sort of online marketing. And then, yeah, I had been doing that for, I guess, 2 years or so. And then B School came after that.
Yeah, so you guys like literally redefined, recreated an entire industry geared around, like you said, like what your like lifestyle was, like your community, like the way that you guys see the world from your perspective. So I think that's awesome. So that's really great. I think that this is something that people should really take away, the idea that, what you were saying earlier, that there's only so many actions that we can actually take before we actually also need to wait and let people bring opportunities to us. And that really is the way that manifestation works. Like the way we bring things into reality is you can't do it all yourself. There are certain things that you can control and do yourself, but like you always need someone, especially if you're in business. You can create all the products. You still need people to help you market it. You still need customers, right?
Customers, right.
Attract the customers to you that are like-minded, looking for the products that you have and the services that you provide. So that's awesome. I think that's a great one, because we got to not just talk about manifestation, we got to talk about synchronicities too, which I love synchronicities. So I am a firm believer that success is not an act, but a habit. So what are some essential habits that have led you to a sense of self-mastery that you can attribute to your success? Whoops, did I lose? Did we just go down? Says we're still alive. Okay, you guys, if you guys still see me live, can you guys leave a comment? Okay, the sound went out for a second.
Is it back now?
Is Laura there? Okay, so as soon as you started answering that question, you dropped off for me. But so did you guys hear her response? And I know there's a little bit of a lag between us and them. Got you. Did you guys hear her response? Did she start? Or was it me talking the whole time? No, you didn't get her response. Okay. Yeah, no, yes. Got you both back now. Let's just go ahead. Laura, are you still there? Oh, she may have dropped off. Okay, let's see. I think this might be on her end, not my end. I'm always like afraid it's my end. I've dropped something off. Let's see. I can't do it right now. Laura?
Yeah. Is it working now?
Yes, it is. Okay, yeah. I was just about to send you an email. Okay, so it cut off for me, and I think maybe everybody else, because I was talking too. So let's go back ahead. idea of success is not an act but a habit. What are your habits for success?
Yeah, so I think the biggest one is constantly questioning the importance and priority of what I'm doing. And I always have, honestly, sometimes it's written in front of me. Sometimes it is more just in my head, like what's the most important thing that I can help with to move the business forward. So at this point where my business is larger, we have a team of about 25 people. It's usually hiring. It's either like hiring or maybe like coaching someone in a leadership role. And just that constant, whenever I'm doing something else, they're like, is this as important as that? Should I be spending 20 minutes on this when I could be spending, like right now we're looking for a director of marketing. It's a really important role for the company. So if I'm doing something else, a lot of other things for 20 minutes, I'm not spending my 20 minutes. At this point, something on my list is looking through applications, like classifying all the applications. So I think that's such a core thing of really recognizing, is this really something that's driving the business forward and has that domino effect that will continue to make the business succeed? Or like, is this busy work?
I love that. So I absolutely love that, because you guys know from my history, like last year, I took a big step back from my business and like stopped blogging. I stopped doing YouTube like as regularly as I was before, because I was like, well, number one, I needed a kind of a break after like years of creating tons of content, but also it was almost like an experiment for me on where is the best use of my time. Like, what is the necessity that I really need to be spending the time in my business? Because there are so many expectations, and there are things that we start doing that sometimes become less effective. And it's like, for me specifically too. So if you're like listening to this and you're like, oh, well, Laura runs a business with like all people, right? I still a solo act over here, you guys. So even for me, there's definitely a difference between things they have to do that are like, I don't want to do, like taxes or like having to do financial stuff, right? Kind of have to do them. So that's always like a way, that's always something that needs to be on the plate somehow. But then there's like all the other management of the business, like what's the best platform for me to make content on? Like, are my blog posts as successful as my YouTube videos? If I do a blog post and a YouTube video, which one's going to get more? So if the YouTube is the better driver, then maybe I don't need to focus on blogging as much if I'm focusing on my YouTube. And if I'm talking on social media, I don't need to give updates via email, right? Because you guys know I also am not someone who sends out a ton of emails, because I feel like the people who are engaged with me are following me on like social media platform. So you're going to be hearing updates from there as well. So for me, I'm also always doing that. And I think even if you don't run a business, just from a basic productivity standpoint, okay, understanding what is different between the things you absolutely have to do because they're non-negotiables in your life, and understanding now with the rest of your time, what is the best use of your time. And for me as well, taking a step back from that, how do you discover what even is the best use of your time? What are your goals? Where are you aligned with your goals? Like if you are someone who, is trying to, get healthier, right? You want to have a whole like healthy living makeover, right? You go to work during the day because you have to go to work. You take care of your health stuff. And then the rest of the day, right? Maybe you're like, okay, I've got this like 3-hour block of time before I go to, to bed, or before I go to have dinner or whatever, or you have time in the morning. Are you going to watch TV, or are you going to go to the gym, right? So like, what actions are actually aligned with your goals and are going to be the best use of your time? So I think that's amazing, being able to like edit and like I would say like curating your time, right? Curating the way that you're spending your time, because we all only have the same 24 hours, as they say. We all have the same 24 hours as Beyonce. But why are we all not Beyonce, right? Because the way she curates her time and what she does and what her goals are and how she's aligned with it, right? So I think that's an amazing productivity tip, business tip, life tip in general. So talking about productivity, what tools do you use to plan your day?
So I have some different things that I do. I definitely can you still hear me?
I just got you back.
Okay. Sorry, it's weird. It must be my end, but it's not telling me it's my end. The idea of time blocking, where you're putting your to-do items right on your calendar, works really well for me. And for me, I find that it's not even so much Like for example, like,
I feel like we're losing her again. Laura, if you can hear me, I think we lost you.
I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me. That's interesting. It might just be the connection. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do. Laura, if you can hear me, I think maybe we should just cut this out. And what I can do is put the questions, and maybe Laura can send me an email with the answers, because I think we might be getting a connection issue. I'm not sure if it's on my end, the connection to YouTube, because she's kind of connecting through me. But it happens, you guys. So are you guys seeing me right now? Yes, okay. And can you guys see Laura, or is she gone? Okay, so my audio is fine, but hers isn't. Okay. But not Laura. Is Laura gone? Yeah, Laura's gone off of here again. Gone. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. She must be having connection issues. She's from the UK, you guys. So, or she's in the UK. So it may just be a connection thing. So what I'm going to do, because I don't want to make this, I don't want to, waste all of your time today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to contact Laura and see if she could just give me like a written answer for the tools that she uses. And then I also had some rapid fire questions, some book recommendations, apps, and some other sort of just like quick fire things that I will go ahead and get those answers, and I will put them in the description box, what she says, so that you guys can like check those out. Because I just think they're just fun things to have. You know what I mean? Like knowing what someone's favorite apps are, or like favorite books or something like that. I think that is always fun thing to have. So that is what I'm going to do. But I hope you guys had a good time. What did you guys think about this? Would you guys like me to do some more interviews? I have some more people like slated to do things like this with, if we could get the technical aspect worked out. Was this valuable to you guys? I would love to know. And of course, make sure that you guys are checking out Edgar if you're someone who does any sort of like social media promotion. If you're someone who is like running your own business or has a blog or is using like social media to promote things. I think that like for me, I use Edgar. I've been using it for like 2 years now at this point. So I highly recommend it. So definitely check out Edgar. I will have a link in the description box. It's already there. And then of course, I also have my new Charmed Life Master Planner, the master plan, as you can see here. So if you guys are interested in this planner, I also have a link down below for that. So definitely check it out. So sorry that this got a little bit jumbled. It's technology. What are you going to do? I would blame it on Mercury retrograde, but I'm pretty sure it ended. So, oh, Laura. Okay, she's back. Okay, so what I was telling people was that we're going to wrap it up. But if you want to quickly, what kind of planner do you use?
It's just a notebook.
Notebook. Okay, she's a notebook girl. Let's see if we can get the books. Do you have a book recommendation for us?
Yes. Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. It's like just a how-to, everything you need to know about how to run a business.
Awesome. App you can't live without, other than Edgar.
Other than Edgar. And Google Calendar. Like, I don't use any fancy apps.
Don't use any fancy apps. Okay, she's a simple girl. A influencer, someone who inspires you that you'd recommend we check out and follow.
I'm trying to think of Instagram. I love interior design, and I love Emily Henderson.
Emily Henderson. I think I follow her on
Emily Henderson.
Yeah, and Emily Henderson for design, you guys. And then one single tip that you use to achieve a sense of balance in your life.
Take a break all the time. Whenever you want to step away, there is not too much downtime, in my opinion.
I love it. Take a break. You guys know I'm all about the white space. Love making sure I've got spaces in my time, in my calendar where I'm not doing anything. So I totally am all about that. So I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Laura, for joining us. And thank you to everybody who joined us in the comments live. I think this had a lot of valuable information. Sorry about the tech hiccups, but what are you going to do? This is the internet. It's not perfect yet. Okay. We're working on it. Laura's working on it. So thank you guys so much for coming. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.